Hi, thank you all for coming. We're going to go ahead and get started with our program. My name is Bonnie Teo, and I'm the Director of Public Works in Cuyahoga County, and we're really excited that you're all here today, and it's going to be a great end of the year for us. I'd like to introduce County Executive Ed Fitzgerald.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for being here. This is the most people that have been in this rotunda since they had a free checking promotion sometime in the late 80s. This is an important day, and actually we're in an important and historic location. This building has seen a lot of history, and this intersection at East 9th and Euclid has really been at the center of Greater Cleveland's history since the founding of the city, really. So it's appropriate that we're here today as we begin a new chapter in the county's history and how the county is trying to do business. This building has seen good days and bad days. It's seen good public policy, and it's seen public policy fail. So it was important for us to try to really turn the page and do things in a completely different way. I just wanted to give you a bit of background, and then I'm going to turn it over to Ryan Jeffers from our team, and he's going to walk you through the way this process is going to work. But I wanted you to know how this whole thing started, really. One of the things that we've tried to do at the county is really be as scientific as we possibly can and analytical about the way the county is managed. And that includes really all functions and aspects of the county. That includes how many personnel we have, it includes what we pay for health insurance, it includes land use decisions we make, and it includes how we manage and care for our physical space. When we came into office in January of 2011, we started looking at the Central Services Department, which was tasked with maintaining our county buildings. And what we do in our process, which we call County Stat, but what we do in our process is we develop benchmarks and performance measures for every single function that we do. And one of the first benchmarks that we established for what at the time was the Central Services Department was very simple. How many buildings do we have? How much money do we spend on those buildings? And do we have the appropriate number of buildings in the right places to fulfill our mission to the general public? And very quickly, I reached the conclusion that things were out of whack when it came to how we were managing our physical space, how much we were paying for it, and we had to do something different. So the next thing that happened internally was we ended up merging the Department of Central Services into a larger department with our engineers department, which became the Department of Public Works. And one of their first and biggest assignments was, let's look at our real estate portfolio. Let's figure out if there's something different and creative that we can do with it, and let's do it differently than it's ever been done before. My marching orders to them were that I didn't want to take each individual property and just put a for sale sign in front of it and see what happens. As a matter of fact, one of the untold stories actually of what happened with the county was that there were some attempts to sell some buildings that had been unsuccessful, and there were recommendations that because a competitive offer, or in some cases no offer, had been made on certain buildings, that therefore those buildings had no value at all and should just be actually given away, believe it or not. So those were kind of the standing recommendations to my office, which I rejected. The approach that we took is we wanted to look at our entire portfolio. We wanted to examine it in a very public and transparent way, which was in great contrast to the way that the county had operated in this area before. And we wanted to engage with the private sector for creative solutions and proposals to make sure that we had the best outcome. So we ended up engaging with, first of all, with loaned executives. And again, this story has been told to some extent, but the public will probably never realize how much buy-in we've had from the private sector from the very early, actually before we were ever sworn into office. where we went to the Cleveland business community and said, would you be willing to donate some of your talent to just help us define what the issues are and begin kind of the base level analysis that we need to do to go forward. So the first folks that need to be thanked, I don't have a list of them, although some of them are here today, were the people that without any pay or compensation helped us just get a handle of what do we have out there in terms of our physical space. It's also, I think, a sign, or it was a symptom of how far we had to go, that in our first months in office, when I asked a very simple question, which was, what buildings do we own and where are they? Nobody had that exact answer. They were out there somewhere. Some of them we knew where they were, and some of them, to be honest with you, because of the fragmentation of the county, nobody in a central location really was managing the entire operation in a coordinated way in terms of how many square feet we have and why they're located where they were. There had never been any kind of coordinated strategy to say this is what our customers need and this is where logically it makes sense to locate buildings. So the loan executive team helped us define what the problem was. The next step was we engaged with some consultants to come up with a strategic plan. We have 66 buildings total that the county either leases or owns. Some of those buildings are anonymous storage facilities that you never would have heard of, and some of those leases we're getting out of, and there's no need to put any of those on the market because they were a lease that didn't make sense anymore, and we're already getting out of some of those leases. So the number of buildings is going to drop. Some of the buildings are landmark architecture, like the incredible building that we're in here today, and everything in between. After the study was done, and by the way, the conclusion of that study was that there were, out of the 66 buildings, there were 22 buildings that we definitely needed to keep. And these are buildings that are just core to our mission, or there's something about their location that doesn't make any sense to divest ourselves of. There are another 22 that could go either way, and some of those we have gotten rid of, or we're going to be. And there's another 22 that they felt it made sense, again, to get out of those buildings. Now that may be canceling a lease, or that may be selling the building. It could be either one. What we have today is 13 properties that are for sale. They range anywhere from 20,000 square feet to 800,000 square feet. The total disposition of this property is going to represent about 1.6 million square feet of real estate. And today is really the kickoff now of that process of disposition. Here's what I think we're going to get at the end of the process. Number one is we're going to save money for the taxpayers. We've already saved in excess of $30 million in operations costs through health insurance changes and personnel reductions. We're over 450 employees smaller at the county than we were before. But there are other efficiencies that we haven't realized yet. And the estimate is, conservatively, over the next 10 years as we start to transition out of these buildings, the estimate is conservatively in the tens of millions of dollars that we'll end up saving for the county. So that's number one. Number two is we want to migrate and move our smaller county government in a way that's going to be accessible and customer friendly for the people of Cuyahoga County. We want to make sure that the workers of Cuyahoga County have the appropriate workspace to provide first-rate service that will match our own ethos in terms of what we expect of county employees and what we demand of ourselves in terms of the service that we provide to the people of this county. So that's number two. Number three is we can do all those things, and we should do those things. Those are reasons enough. Either one of those reasons would be reason enough to engage in this process. The third thing is we have an opportunity at this very distinct moment in Greater Cleveland history. We actually have an opportunity to do the right thing financially, the right thing for our customers, for our employees, and at the same time be a catalyst and a contributor to the economic development and growth that is happening to Greater Cleveland. We need to be a part of the solution in terms of restoring the economic vibrancy and viability of East 9th and Euclid. And the fact that this building was kept from public view and kept out of public use for so long has been a drag on the local economy. Any of you that work in downtown Cleveland know that it is like night and day compared to what Euclid Avenue looks and feels like now compared to just a couple years ago. The foot traffic, the economic vitality that we're seeing starting to come back it's palpable and it's real and it's not rhetoric. But this particular property and others have been dragging that down. So the previous county leadership made some mistakes. And this, unfortunately, because it's such a crucial piece of property, was a very high-profile failure. And it was dragging really back the recovery of Euclid Avenue in this particular part of the city. We're going to completely try to do a 180 so that when people talk about this building, when they talk about the way the county handles its properties, it's going to be an example of how things can be done in a way that helps the taxpayers, helps our customers, and also contributes to the economic well-being and growth of the greater Cleveland area. We could not have done this. The reason I wanted to give you the whole history of it was we couldn't have been there without our partners in the private sector. We could not have done it. One of the things the county government has tried to really realize and remind ourselves is there's certain things that we know how to do, and there's certain things that go beyond the core competency of a typical government agency. And that's when you have to engage the private sector. If there hadn't been some public-spirited folks in our private sector, in our real estate industry, we couldn't have gotten to this very important day. It would have been impossible to be here. What you're going to see unfold, and I'm going to bring Ryan Jeffers up here to describe to you the way the whole process is going to work. It never would have happened under the old county system, but I hope it becomes not just an example for how we can do things in this county, but I have a feeling it's going to be an example of how these types of decisions should be made as a best practice across the country. Thanks for listening to me. Thanks for participating.
Hard to follow that up. Well, again, I'd like to echo the executive's comments and thank you all for coming. Thank you, Executive Fitzgerald, for joining us today. And really a thank you to the entire county staff who surrounds you. You can see them in here, but as you go through the buildings and you go through the process, you'll know just how involved they've been, how helpful they've been, how much hard work and thought they put into this process. What we did want to do is give you a sense of how we got here, and Executive Fitzgerald really summarized it quite well. In the last year, Cuyahoga County did a very specific study. They engaged a set of consultants to look at their nearly 70 buildings and 7 million square feet that they own or lease. The goals of the project were to come up with a comprehensive strategy by which the county could really consolidate their footprint, reduce costs, and provide an improvement in services to their constituents. The strategy that resulted from that study last year consists of 3 major initiatives that we're here to carry out. The first one is to seek out and acquire a consolidated headquarters facility. The second one is to seek out and acquire a consolidated storage facility. And the third is to dispose of 13 properties that the county currently owns. In the course of this, they'll also be shedding leases, but the sale properties are what we'll be handling as a team for you and what many of you are interested in learning about more today. The expected effect, based upon the study, was pretty meaningful. $56 million net present value savings over 10 years, conservatively. Over 20 years, we're potentially looking at an $84 million benefit to the county and its taxpayers. This is a meaningful project. The footprint will be reduced to approximately 5.5 million square feet. And we fully expect that because of the consolidated facilities, that the service offerings to the constituents of the county will be drastically improved. So, who are we? CBRE was engaged by the county over the spring and summer to really oversee the 3 initiatives of this project. We've got various personnel on our team who are helping us to get it done. I am Ryan Jeffers. I am the program manager for CBRE. Many of you I've met and know. My partner, Chandler Converse, who is also managing director of our company, along with David Browning, are helping to lead the charge. Vicki Mater, who runs our investment sales group here in Cleveland, is helping to oversee the strategy and process of selling the 13 properties. In addition to that, we've got a whole team of people who are staffed to do that work. Maria Lemon with our team, Connor Coakley, George Stevens, Steve Voinovich, Bob Brandon, Ann Wimberly, and a whole variety of other people who are helping to support us. We've also engaged the Chartwell Group. Because of their experience, especially with particular buildings and particular sectors of the market, the Chartwell Group will be assisting us with property sales. That charge is going to be led by Dave Wagner and Tyler Terhune. Ariel Ventures, which is a small business firm here in Cuyahoga County, is going to be assisting us, and Radhika Reddy is an expert on new market and historic tax considerations that will be important in not only the sales of some of these properties, but also potentially in putting together the financing for any of the new consolidated facilities that the county gets into. The county will be engaging an architectural and engineering consultant in the coming weeks. That is in process currently. A number of you have asked that question. That should be complete soon. And the county is also in the process of seeking outside legal counsel for the project. A number of you are familiar with this as well. The RFQ number is 24674. You can go to the Cuyahoga County Law Department's website. You can find a link there to the RFQ, and you can learn more about the outside legal services the county is seeking. As well, we will determine with the legal RFQ how title work will be handled. The county will select a title company, and they will use that for all of the property sales that they engage in. The summer and the fall are going to be pretty busy for everybody. Today is our bidder conference. We really appreciate all of you making it in. I know that some of you don't live here in Cleveland. Some of you were not here, although you may live here, and you made the trip in, and that's pretty meaningful for us, and we appreciate that this is pretty meaningful to you. Starting today, tomorrow, and Thursday, we'll be holding an open house at every building that's for sale. There's a schedule that's available at the front desk if you haven't already seen it or signed up online. And in 2 weeks, we'll be repeating the same thing for folks who may not have been able to make it today. But those open houses are really your opportunity and your client's opportunity to get through the various buildings and to learn a little bit more about them on site. We can't stress enough to you that it's important for you and your clients, if you're interested in acquiring a property, to attend an open house. Being able to get people through an individual tours is not the process that we're going to be engaging in. We're going to be stressing the importance of these open houses across the board. So hopefully with the 2 sets, we've made it a decent time for everybody, and we'll see you there. The most important date in this whole process, though, is September 14th. Friday, September 14th at 11 a.m., all offers are due. We're going to get into the meat of this in a minute and what it means. But on that day, any proposals for somebody who's offering a building for the headquarters or for the storage facility, or somebody who's making a proposal to buy one of the 13 buildings, will owe their offer. And it will have to be delivered by 11 a.m. to the Department of Procurement and Diversity. What this means for some of you, a lot of us deal in the private sector in transactions, and you simply email your proposals over to us. You've got to submit them into the Office of Procurement and Diversity, which is located in the current administration building, room 110 at the corner of Ontario and Lakeside. That information, again, is available on our website and further in the presentation. Later in September, the CBRE team will be meeting with the county to review the proposals, to do some due diligence, to get some clarifications and information from the various parties that did propose. And by early October, the goal is to be able to shortlist the proposals by each different initiative. A short list for the headquarters, a short list for the storage facility, a short list on each of the proposers who's interested in buying a property. During October, we're going to do additional deep dive due diligence on each of those shortlisted proposals. Make sure that we've fully vetted them. We want to make sure that this is a great decision for Cuyahoga County. In late October, the goal is to have a final selection and recommendation and to present that to County Council. And in the course of the balance of the year, we'll be moving through to documentation and execution. It is not lost on us that this is an aggressive schedule. A number of you have called us and approached us and said, wow, this is fast, and we recognize that. But there are very good reasons why it is meaningful for Cuyahoga County, and it is meaningful for you as potential proposers to look at a schedule this aggressive. You're sitting in one of them. This rotunda, and we'll get to this a little bit more, but to give you a preview, this rotunda, as many of you know, has historic tax credits that have been granted by the state of Ohio, and there is a timeline on those tax credits. And we want to run this process to make sure that everybody has the opportunity to take advantage and see the value in those tax credits and the hard work that frankly was done by a number of people to get them in the first place. So, how do you make an offer? Number one thing that I want all of you to do if you're interested in making an offer is to complete and submit the RFP registration. A number of you have already done this. In fact, I'm proud to say that we have over 50 entities that have submitted an RFP registration with interest in this project, with interest in actually making a proposal. You have to submit that RFP registration in order to get information on each of the properties and the initiatives that we're going out to market with. It will be required as a condition of submitting a proposal. We encourage you to do it early because if you do so early, we're able to send you updates on the process and information and changes that may occur. Without submitting it, we just don't know who you are to give you those notifications. Number two, take a look at the RFP. The RFP is available on our website. It is a big document, and it's separated into 3 different parts. The first initiative for the headquarters, second for the storage, third for the sale of the properties. You can either download it from our website, it's available in an Adobe Acrobat or a Microsoft Word format, or you can go and pick up a hard copy at the Office of Procurement and Diversity in person. We encourage everybody to follow the format of the RFP. Answer the questions that are asked of you, provide the information that we're requesting. We are making a very thorough and meaningful and thoughtful evaluation of each of the proposals. We want to make sure that we ask for a lot of information up front so that the county can be aware of everything that they're interested in knowing about each of these proposals. Next thing you'll want to do is sign up for and attend the open houses. They're this week. They're going to be again in 2 weeks from now on August 21st through 23rd. And that's really going to be your way to physically, personally connect with each of the properties that are for sale. You can get additional information on each of the properties on our project website. But we want you to know that there will be additional information that once we have it and once it's prepared, we will be reposting to that website. So please keep checking back at the dispositions and sales page for updates to the property information that's available. Lastly, submit your questions to us because we want to answer them, but please submit them in writing. This is going to be a transparent and public process. As Executive Fitzgerald said, there's a right way to do this, and we intend to follow through with it. And it doesn't mean that we don't want to answer your questions, but any information that you ask of us that we'll provide to you, we want to make sure everybody has the benefit of knowing. Everybody should be able to have the same information and the same feedback so that everybody can put their best foot forward in a proposal. Again, all proposals due 11 a.m. at the Office of Procurement and Diversity at Ontario and Lakeside. Where can I find information? Really, our project website is the best place to go and get the most information that you can get about any of the initiatives in the entire project. The RFP is available there. All the information about properties is available there. It's your single source. If you have problems navigating it, or you see some information, or you realize there's information that you don't have that you want, call us, email us, let us know, and we'll help. There are 4 very important forms that are on that website. We've covered some of them. The RFP registration It's right there, front and center, well, front and left on the page, but the link to the RFP registration is on the upper left-hand corner of the main page. The schedule and sign up for your open houses, also there in the upper left-hand corner of the main page. We do request confidentiality agreements if you want to get information on the for sale properties beyond just a fact sheet. So when you go to the disposition and sales link on our website, select the property you're interested in, click the Get More Info link, and that will send you to CBRE Marketplace, where you can electronically execute the confidentiality agreement. Alternatively, you can print a copy and fax it into our offices, and we'll manually grant you access. The last form that's very important on the website is our actual RFP. The number is 24534. You can download it as a full document for all 3 initiatives, or you can just download 1, 2, or 3 of the initiatives if you're only interested in that certain aspect of the project. So that you know, this slide and the previous slide are available out in the lobby, so you can pick up a copy of it as you walk out the door, and our presentation, so that you know, will be made available on the website so that you can go and walk through it a little bit later if you'd like. So let's give you an overview of the whole RFP. RFP, again, is 3 initiatives: the headquarters, the storage, and the sales. The reason that we did this was actually very important. I think a couple of people have asked, why are you doing 3 different projects, what seem to be 3 different projects at once? And the answer is really that it's not 3 different projects. For Cuyahoga County, this is one comprehensive property consolidation. We need to address a very complex project in its entirety. We need to allow proposers who are potentially interested in multiple initiatives to be able to make those proposals simultaneously in case it is meaningful for them to be proposing 2 initiatives at once. And we need to make sure that the county has the ability to evaluate offers that may be related to one another. In whatever way it might be, you may be interested in doing 2 different things, but not the rest of the project, and that's great. The county is interested to see what you want to propose. They want to see what your idea is. And so that's why we're doing this all simultaneously. Registration, again, I can't stress this enough, will be required for the RFP. So please complete it online or in person. And as you go through the RFP, you will notice that there are some required forms at the end of the document. 2 of them you can complete on your own, but one of them will take some thought and some planning ahead, which is the ethics training. And you can go to the Cuyahoga County website, and I believe the Office of the General Inspector, Naila K. Bird, will have information about the ethics training and how you can attend and get certified for your organization. But that's very, very important to the county, that anybody who makes an offer and that they might do business with has gone through that training and certification. Something that we do want to make sure that everybody is aware of: the county is willing to consider new construction and purchase options for the consolidated headquarters and storage. That has been a question that we've received, but we want to make sure that everybody also understands that the preferred occupancy target for the county in this whole process is the first quarter of 2014. So they will review every proposal that's made in its entirety, and if there are folks who cannot meet the first quarter of 2014 timeline, then the request is make your argument as to why you've got a great proposal otherwise, and we'll evaluate it, we'll consider it. So Initiative 1 for the headquarters, just to give you a brief overview, is 225,000 usable square feet. It will include the administrative offices of the county, which are the executive's offices, council's offices, law, IT, public works, a whole number of groups who would be going into this facility. The major considerations of this initiative are that they want to make sure that they're going to be doing business and entering into an agreement with a landlord who's got a great track record. The building's efficiency and ability to accommodate the requirement are important. Obviously, that goes all along with overall economics as well. They're looking for a 20-year lease term with rights to renew on into the future. This is a long-term commitment by the county. This administrative facility will have a strong ground floor presence. It has to be accessible to the constituents of the county. This is going to be a place for people to do business. Flexibility of footprint's important because the county doesn't expect that over a 20-year period, its process of doing business would never change. So that will be an important consideration, expansion and contraction ability in the space. The ability of a landlord to fund improvements in a property will be a consideration. And the access to public transit and parking are going to be important considerations for this facility. I've just done a summary here. There are other considerations, and the RFP really captures all of them. But what you'll see when you open the RFP is a scoring scale, where we will be scoring each of the proposals by certain categories out of 100 points. The parties that are proposing, the building, the term, the economics of the proposal, that's actually the 25 points out of 100. These are how the proposals will be scored. And these are some of the more meaningful categories that you should be focusing on when you're making a proposal. The RFP is actually split up into these categories, so it should be relatively easy to follow for each of you. Initiative 2 is the consolidated storage facility. This is another very large facility, 200,000 square feet. The groups and uses that would go into here include the archives that would be coming out of the building in Ohio City on Franklin Avenue, Children and Family Services, the Board of Elections, and various other storage that is going on, that is located in buildings that are vacant throughout the portfolio. The major considerations of this facility and this initiative, again, quality and track record of the landlord. Building efficiency. There is the 20-year term, the 10-year term with renewal rights. There is a consideration that storage is more likely to change and be in flux over time than the administrative headquarters would be, simply because of changes in technology and Ohio law about record storage. So this is a shorter term transaction with flexibility of footprint because of those pending changes that may occur in the future. Public transit and parking access are still a consideration of this location as well. This is a fully staffed location. Certainly not as many people as are in the administrative headquarters, but this is a site where people will come to work every day. During the fall, especially with the Board of Elections being there, it will be a very busy location, and it also will be a place that the public will access on a regular basis for looking at the archives. It will also be a place that the county stores its property, a single consolidated location instead of splitting it out amongst all of their various buildings to store furniture and property and equipment that they use on a regular basis. That's good. Oh, actually, you know what? Can you go back one? Sorry. The scoring on the storage facility is slightly different than the administrative facility. Again, we look at the proposing parties, the premises, the term, the economics, but you do find that there's some shift in the importance and the points. Here, economics and building considerations and services are really the most critical for how the county will evaluate each of the proposals made for the storage option. So now we go to Initiative 3. 13 properties, 1.6 million square feet, all available. Major considerations of the sales are the quality and track record of the purchaser. The county wants to make sure that whoever they're selling a building to or entering into a contract with has the ability to close and the ability to make, reuse, and develop that property as a shining example of what they're trying to accomplish here. They want to make sure that the properties they're selling go back into the market and are put to good use. The county's occupancy after close will be a consideration in how they look at each of the proposals for buying a building. Some of the buildings that are available are partially or fully occupied by the county. And so in the RFP, there is a request for you to indicate as the buyer, what are your terms? What are your thoughts about the county continuing to occupy for some limited period of time after the close of the sale. Environmental stewardship and economic development impact are also extremely important to the county. Both of these have to do with the reuse of the property. The county will be evaluating the intended reuse of each property as a consideration in this effort. They want you to not only tell them, what is this property worth to you, but give us your ideas, give us your plans, give us your thoughts about how you would reuse this property and what it could be that would be great, how it would be a great fit for the county and the neighborhood it's in and its neighbors. How will this be a meaningful addition to our community? That's a very important consideration as well when they're evaluating the sales of the properties. But we want to hear from you. We want you to tell us what the building is in your eyes and not have us tell you what it should be. So, with that, I want to make sure that we do a quick rundown of each of the properties that are for sale. The first one is actually going to be split into a few different buildings because it should be known that the Ameritrust complex is available in whole or in part. There are 5 buildings here, 2 of which cannot be split, the P&H buildings, and 2 garages that are associated with the Ameritrust complex. The first of which is the Rotunda. This is the shining example of beautiful architecture in the county portfolio, and it is absolutely a gem that we fully expect to have a great deal of interest and activity on. It was built in 1905 for the Cleveland Trust Company, and it's roughly a 38,000 square foot building with 4 stories. This building has already been approved for state historic tax credits. It's eligible for federal, and it does reside in a new market tax credit zone. There are a lot of incentives to your capital stack that are available with this building. If you can put in a meaningful offer, have a great reuse opportunity, and close on it within a certain time frame. It's meaningful to you, and it's meaningful to the county. The next building in the Ameritrust complex is the tower. We'll be walking through the tower a little bit later for folks who are interested in the purchase of the complex. It is a 29-story building, roughly 400,000 square feet, and what's very interesting about the tower are the small floor plates. Now, I think to some extent there's been a lot of commentary in the past about what it means to have small floor plates for a tall building. But I think what is also meaningful is the idea that from the 7th floor and up, you've got windows on all sides for a building who is about 13,500 square feet and has high-rise capability, has already had a great deal of demolition and abatement completed, and is ready and willing for some sort of adaptive reuse. What would be just off to my left and your right is what we call the Sweatland Building. The Sweatland Building is also known as 1010 Euclid for a number of you. The Sweatland Building has also gone through an extensive demolition and abatement project, which is a great deal of value to any buyer so that they don't have to do it on their own. And it too, like the Rotunda, is a historic structure. It's been approved for state historic tax credits. It's eligible for federal tax credits. And it resides in a zone, as does really the entire complex, for new market tax credits. The building is 13 stories tall. It has on upper floors, the majority of the floors, roughly this H floor plan and footprint. And it's a pretty wonderful structure located just outside here to the east. The P&H buildings are really going to be probably the most traditional office building in its existing condition that are here in the Ameritrust complex. Certainly doesn't mean that that's what the county sees as having to be the intended reuse. But the floor plans of the combined facility are 30,000 square feet. They're about 6 stories. The 6th story for the H building, which is the building further to the east, actually has a penthouse, which will be available to see during our tours today. The building was built in 1963, so not quite as new as the Breuer Tower, but a newer piece of the project. And this is the property that you see right now with the Marine Week banner and the walkable bridge that directly connects over to the Ameritrust garage. And that brings us to the garages. Both the Ameritrust and Ottman garages are currently active garages. They are building revenue every day. Combined, they make over $1 million every year in gross revenue. And combined, there are roughly 1,060 parking spaces between the two. Ottman is the lower two-story parking facility, and the Ameritrust garage is the facility that is 8 stories and connected to the man bridge that goes into the P&H building. These two are available as an individual parcel, although they can be available for a proposal in the context of the entire complex. It's important for anybody who's interested in individual parcels of Ameritrust to understand that when the county evaluates a sale of the complex, they will need to evaluate the complex as a whole. So they will look at proposals made for just 1 or 2 or 3 parts of the complex in the context of what other offers are that would complement them to purchase other buildings in the complex. And they will compare them to offers for the entire complex as a whole. So that is meaningful for people to understand as you go through the process and look at this building, these buildings. Next on the list, the County Administration Building. While this is going to be the place that you submit your proposals on September 14th, this is not a place that we expect the county to be occupying a couple of years down the road. The corner of Ontario and Lakeside has completely transformed over the last few years. Many of you are in our industry. You understand what I'm talking about. A number of years ago, Ontario and Lakeside wasn't nearly as meaningful as a site for purchase, for development, for redevelopment as it is today. The Flats East Bank Building, the Brown Stadium, North Coast Harbor, the Convention Center and Medical Mart, massive undertaking that will be open next year. These are all surrounding this building. It has become a very exciting piece of property. And there's, as the neighborhood evolves, there are certain transformational issues that it will certainly have. And we look forward to seeing what people's ideas are for this building in its current form or some other form to service those needs of the neighborhood. As it stands, it's just shy of 150,000 square feet. It's 4 stories tall. It is eligible for some historic, and it is located in a new market tax credit zone. The County Archives Building. If you don't know it, just by having driven by or gone out to Ohio City, I really encourage you, regardless of if you're interested in buying it, to go drive by. The Sanford and Rhodes houses were built in the 1870s and are really beautiful examples of old construction in Ohio City that many of the residents over there and businesses over there have valued and honored over the years. The buildings are 2 separate mansions that have been connected by a tunnel with a separate courtyard in the back that is shielded by the tunnel. There's a nice piece of land that is all around the Archives building and a small parking lot just to the west. It's a 1.4 acre site. It is definitely eligible for historic and located in a new market tax credit zone. The Superior Auto Title Building is a more traditional office space. It's a 2-story property just east of the corner of Superior and East 12th Street. It's got a wonderful skylight right in the middle of it. If you go through the property, if you have a chance to tour it, you're going to really see what a wonderful, bright, open space it is. It's a pretty wonderful example of how you can use space with an open floor plan and really make it work. There's a central staircase that comes up that connects the 1st and 2nd floors, and extremely valuable, I can't stress this enough, extremely valuable for this property at this location is the fact that to the north it has an attached parking lot. Currently, this is being used by the county's Auto Title Bureau, and it will be used as such until such time as it transitions over. But even though it's open to the public, we do encourage you to schedule tours at our open houses and not just walk in there to try to grab a glimpse of it on your own. The county employees will not be able to walk you through except during our open houses. Courthouse Square. Another much more traditional office building. In fact, as it currently operates, It is one of the more functional office buildings in this entire portfolio in its current state. Courthouse Square is a wonderful 7-story, nearly 90,000 square foot building up at the northern end of the warehouse district, right at the corner of Lakeside and West 3rd Avenue. It comes with a 116-car parking lot to the west, which is pretty exciting. There are revenue figures for this parking lot and also, so that you know, for the Ameritrust garages that are available on our project website. This building will seemingly fit a very interesting need in Cleveland because of its location right on the edge of an entertainment district. It is very close to that neighborhood I described for the administration building, and it will provide to the community a building with a good 13,000, 14,000 square foot footprint that really doesn't exist much in that neighborhood. It's a pretty meaningful piece of property. It's a pretty beautifully maintained piece of property, and we welcome you to come to the open house and take a look at it. The Whitlatch Building at the corner of 19th and Carnegie. This is another building that a number of you, I'm sure, will recognize, whether or not you know it today. Many of us drive by it every day. At one time, juvenile court services were handled here in this building. It too has a huge parking lot, 108 surface spaces for a 33,000 square foot building. And it's across the street from the Wolstein Center. As many of you know, in that neighborhood, the parking lots can service the occupiers of buildings during certain times, and then during special events, they can make great revenue when the occupiers no longer need those spaces. It's a 3-story building built in 1963 and also located in a new market zone. The Marion Building, just south of Courthouse Square, located on West 3rd and sandwiched in between 2 parking lots, is a 100,000 square foot building with, if you see on the bottom of our drawing, kind of a floor plan shaped like a letter E turned on its side. In this drawing, so that you know, north would be at the top of the floor plan, which means that the building has great views. It looks out at the Brown Stadium and all over the lake, and really is a great opportunity, being on the edge of the warehouse district, being on the edge of the Justice Center. It can be a number of reuses. It doesn't have to be office, it doesn't have to be residential, although those are 2 certain uses that could be on the table for it. The former juvenile court complex. Total acreage of this site is just under 5 acres, and it's actually located on 2 different parcels or collections of parcels, one being a very large parking lot on the north side of Cedar, and one being the actual juvenile court and detention facility that is now vacant. The facility itself is 166,000 square feet. And what makes it interesting is that the floor plan of it isn't one solid square. The X that you see in the middle is an open courtyard. So the floor plan for this building is actually a little narrower, and it winds around in a square with an adjacent building to the southeast. So while the floor plates aren't traditional and they're not squares, there's certainly interesting opportunities for what could be redone here with the highway access, with the parking, with the historic nature of the building. We're kind of interested to see what comes out of this from your proposals as well. The Hamilton Garage. There's been a little bit of question about what this facility really is, so to make sure that you're all aware, there is parking here. It is a garage, but it's primarily used by the county as a vehicle maintenance facility, which is really where a lot of its value is. There are fuel tanks on site that are active and can be reused. There is a large warehouse component, and there's a small office component on the south end of the building. It's just under 21,000 feet, and it is located in a new market zone. In Glenville, there is a 20,000 square foot former neighborhood family services building that is actually built, or was actually built in the 80s as a retail supermarket. So as you can imagine, it's a single-story property, great ceiling heights, skylights, a huge parking field. Half the parking field is in the front, half is in the back and secured by a gate and a fence. This building at about 20,000 feet will really provide a lot of opportunities for the neighborhood, for private use, for redevelopment, for retail, a number of things. We encourage you to come look at it. It's in great condition on the inside. It is being used for a lot of storage, but we've been able to move a lot of that to the side so that we can walk you through. I appreciate you hanging in there with me while we do this. There's more information about each of these properties, just to take a break, on our website. And we encourage you to go there, ask us questions, let us know what you'd be interested on each one. The former Metro Health building, right on the corner of 79th and Platt, is a 50,000 square foot former medical facility. But it's also on 6.6 acres of land. And it's extremely close to the 490-55 interchange. 2 turns off the highway, extremely good location, huge parcel of land. The inside of the building, admittedly, is not in pristine condition. You can see that when you go to walk through it with us on an open house. But it is eligible for tax credits as well. 210 spaces can fit in its current parking field, even more if you reconfigured it. Down in Olmsted Township, we actually have 2 more properties that are for sale. The first one is very similar in function to the Hamilton Garage. It's a vehicle maintenance facility on Fitch Road. It's a 8,000 square foot building with a 5-acre yard. And if you saw the announcement that I believe was just put through yesterday or the day before, the Fitch Road overpass is slated to open in the coming weeks, which makes this property a very meaningful location because it is just off that overpass, and it is one of the very few places in that area that can be accessed by not having to cross the tracks. If any of you have been in Olmsted Township, there is a train track that runs east to west that can cause quite a delay for people who are trying to move around the area. This property will be right next to the bridge that goes over that train track and allows people to get through without having to wait. And lastly, the Brentwood development site, also in Olmsted Township, 2.5 acres on Usher Road. Currently, there is a water treatment facility on the site, a small concrete structure towards the east side. It's not utilized anymore actively by the county, but this is a great 2.5 acre site right across the street from the Vitamix headquarters, in a residential area as well. Really open to see what people might want to do with that land. So, I've asked you to sit here while we describe what we're trying to do. And I know that a number of you are excited about this, but you have some questions. We've had some frequently asked questions already. The first one, which we've touched on, is whether offers can be made for a single initiative. People have asked, if I only want to propose one thing, whether it's the headquarters or a storage facility, or if I just want to buy one building, can I do that? And the answer is absolutely. The county is interested in reviewing offers for individual initiatives, but they're also interested in reviewing offers for people who, frankly, want to buy more than one property or put together a couple of different pieces because their real estate interest is a little bit broader than just the one site. The county does have the ability to award different initiatives and individual sales to unrelated parties, which will make this process very interesting and meaningful for them. The second question we're getting a lot is whether or not there's a deadline to register for the RFP. Again, we touched on this before, but there is no deadline. You can register for the RFP right up until the day before submission day. Actually, you could register the day of. But if you don't register, you cannot make a proposal. We cannot provide you with an answer to a question that you've asked. We cannot give you access to the deep information about each of the properties for sale. And what can be most important to some of you, we can't give you updates about the project because we simply don't know who you are or that you're interested. So please register early if you are an interested party in the project. A question that's been asked of us in many different occasions, what information is going to be made available to the public and when? I think that a lot of you want to know about your proposals and what you'd be offering in your buildings and what people will know about it and at what times. When you register for the RFP, your name is in the public record, the entity that registered for the RFP. We'd like everybody to be aware of that you had picked up a copy of it, that you are interested in proposing. When you make a proposal, your proposal, our scoring of it, our analysis of it, and the final recommendation that we do make as a team will be made public when a final recommendation is submitted by the executive branch to the county council for its review and approval. Please be aware this is a public process, and we don't want to make anybody feel as though we're putting them on the hot seat, but it's important for us. Ultimately, it's important for you, and it's extremely important for the citizens of the county to know that this process was handled in the appropriate way, that the best value was delivered to the citizens of the county, the best solution was settled upon, and that everything was put out in the public purview, and everybody, including yourselves, had the best opportunity to put the best proposal forward. A lot of people have asked, how can I get more information? Well, number one, complete that RFP registration. Let us know who you are. We can keep you updated on what's going on in the process. Number two, review our website. Information there will be updated regularly on each of the properties for sale and on the initiatives 1 and 2. Please keep your eye on that. That will happen on a regular basis. And if you want to buy a building, do attend the open houses. Don't just go online and pull some information and some paperwork and be prepared to submit an offer. We feel that a personal connection, getting your eyes on something, is really the best way to make an offer for that. Lastly, any questions you have, submit them in writing. On our website, we have a frequently asked questions FAQ page where there's a form you can fill out, and any questions you have, you can submit right there. And we'll answer them for you. But we want you to know that we're going to answer them and post them online to the website. We want to make sure that all of you have information and meaningful answers and responses and direction that we're giving to everybody. Because we want to make sure that great proposals come from everybody and that everybody has the opportunity to make them. So, as this wraps up today, we're going to be starting our open houses at the for sale properties. The first open house is actually right here in the Ameritrust complex. Following this program, I welcome you to walk around the rotunda. It will be open to just kind of take it in and get to know it a little bit. And then we will be doing tours of the Sweatland, Tower, P&H, and garage buildings immediately after this. Because of elevator considerations and managing tour groups, we will need to take groups in tours. So please understand that folks who have signed up to attend today and have specifically indicated their interest in touring will be the first folks that will get out, and we'll start them walking through the complex. But the wait shouldn't be long. We'll be doing tours until 2. So if anybody would be interested in getting a cup of coffee, spending some time here in the rotunda, and coming back later on today, we'll be here, and we'd be happy to walk you through at that time as well. The open house schedule for today also includes the former juvenile court complex and the archives building. So please feel free to show at those properties and learn more about them, take a tour of what's available. We do have fact sheets and flyers of each property that will be available at the open houses, and there will be staff there to help you out. The rest of the schedule, as you see it here, is available on the table out front, and we welcome you to attend these open houses or the open houses that are going to be held in 2 weeks. We really appreciate everything that you have done so far. Again, we know that this is a very aggressive timeline and that we're asking a lot of you as a community. Now, if you look around this room, these are the people and faces that really drive a lot of the real estate world in Cuyahoga County. We know that we're asking a lot of you. We know that we're asking for it in a brief time frame. We appreciate it because we know that you see the value and the opportunity for you. We know you see it for the county. This project is more than just real estate. This is a project about how the county is doing business and transforming, and we appreciate you recognizing that and working with us to deliver for yourselves and for the county the best possible results. Again, any questions that you have, please submit them to our website. We will answer them right away for you on the FAQ page every week. You can always call us, and if it's a question that needs to be answered on the website, we'll just let you know. And that's it. Thank you so much for coming today.